Christmas. It's the time of year when everyone comes together. People spend time with their families, volunteer at soup kitchens, and give until it feels good. Not me, though. I hate my family, I hate volunteering, and, most of all, I hate giving. If we really get down to it, the only thing I love is hating, which is why I've decided to spend my Christmas doing the thing that I love most. Playing licensed video games about characters who also love to hate.
Licensed game hell.
The Grinch likes to break things with his robust behind. He'll flatten and smush to get out of a bind.
I always knew that our journey would start here, with 2000's The Grinch. I know this is probably the game that most nerds are thinking about when they think of a bad licensed Christmas game, so I'm going to get this out of the way up top, and let you all know that I did try to play it. I tried really, really hard, but this game tried to kill me. I have this fun little thing called 3D games make me incredibly motion sick, and unfortunately, The Grinch for PS1, Dreamcast, and PC was no exception. And it is the fault of the game, and you should feel bad for me. I broke into a cold sweat to try and get this done. I was dry heaving, choking down vomit, and all for this terrible, too long game. From what I could gather, your primary objective was to ruin Christmas, which I love. You can do this by dropping your big, fat Grinch butt on presents, snowmen, etc. to destroy them. Another thing that I love. You also seem to be systematically dismantling government services and undermining the political authorities who be in Whoville through the vandalism of political posters, post offices, and Christmas countdown clocks. Great. A third thing I love. I'd like to imagine there was a compelling story on the other side of this vomit-inducing gameplay, but unfortunately, I'll never see that, and it is the game's fault, and not mine. 0 out of 5 stars. A lot of things happened in 2007, but perhaps the worst thing was Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the Nintendo DS. It's a platformer where you sneak around and try to steal 10 presents and all the trimmings from the Who's. My first instinct was to say that this game was just okay. The sneaking kept me engaged for a little bit, but the longer I thought about this game, the more it pissed me off. Although the whole point of this game is sneaking around, it completely lacks a sense of urgency. When you're spotted, you either just lose a life or have to complete a simple minigame to avoid being caught. There's no chase, there's no dramatic music, just a screen saying that you've been caught. There's no time limit in this game. In fact, the only way to unlock a time limit is to beat the game on the first difficulty level and then like it enough that you go back and play it again. The only reason I found out the difference is because I had to go back for footage. No human being in their right mind would go back to Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Once is enough. The level design is just slightly above bare bones. You're given a slightly harder than easy maze in the form of the Who house to traverse via staircases, fireplaces, and conveniently marked doorways. There's a chance for each room to have one of 4 Who's. A mother who is sleepwalking, a son who is pacing back and forth, and a child who is asleep but periodically bolts awake. And, of course, Cindy Lou who goes in and out of a little door, walking alternately to the left or the right each time. Conveniently, the father who doesn't seem to be in the picture. So, go crazy, weirdos! If you're caught by Cindy Lou, or a mother who, you're given the opportunity to save your life by playing one of 2 minigames. Cindy Lou's minigame revolves around a legion of Mother Who's leaving through doors on the top of the screen. You use your stylus to tap them before they reach the bottom, with the final character of each wave being Miss Cindy Lou Who herself. For the Mother minigame, you use the stylus to move the Grinch so he doesn't get bowled over by Mother Who's walking across the touchscreen. These are both easy games for babies. Your misery is over quick at least, as Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the Nintendo DS is a mere 7 levels. So, after an hour of technically puzzle solving, you can set it down and hopefully never have to come back to it. There's really only 2 redeeming factors in this game. The first is, at the end, you just straight up steal Christmas. There's no epilogue about learning that material things don't matter. There's no moral. You just successfully steal Christmas. It's pure wish fulfillment for haters. I can assure you I'd be stealing all the Who trimmings off of people's trees if not for the fact I would be in jail. Also, this game is just nice to look at. It's vibrant, the Grinch is wearing little lederhosen. 2 out of 5 stars. It gets the job done, I guess. What can be said about Disney's A Christmas Carol for the Nintendo DS that hasn't already been said? It's a minigame collection with fully narrated cutscenes. I found it for $6 at a local game store. It has a random Disney Online mode baked into the game. These things are all true and equally relevant. This game's plot is incredibly cut and dry. It's literally just A Christmas Carol, Disney's version. If you don't have a passing familiarity with the narrative of A Christmas Carol, please hand the iPad back to your mom and go back to the 1st grade. You play as what I can only assume to be an evil, omniscient poltergeist who subtly influences the story by any means necessary to progress the plot, most of which involves torturing an old man. Truly, Ebenezer is minding his own business, and the game is like, hey, you should make his walk home as unpleasant as possible. Like, sure, maybe he was a bad business partner, and maybe he criminally underpays his employees, but who hasn't done that? Am I right? Other than the point-and-click parts, each scene has a few unique mini-games. Some of the highlights include a card game called Snap, where you take turns drawing cards until you get 2 of the same face in a row. Then you race your opponent to press the snap button and collect the point. There was a Cooking Mama-like segment that controls like garbage, but is fun to see attempted in a licensed game. And of course, there's Dominoes. Who doesn't love a good old Dickensian game of dominoes? Some lowlights, bells. It's a pattern memory game, and there's almost nothing I hate more than patterns and using my memory. Also, I accidentally entered this minigame at least 14 times and had to play it through until the end, and it was equally miserable every single time. You can 100% this game pretty easily in less than 2 hours, but it has some fun extra features baked in to keep you on the hook a little longer. These include, but aren't limited to, the entire book of A Christmas Carol, an advent calendar of minigames, and a now defunct online service called D-Gamer, which I ran out of time to explore, but I'm sure is nostalgic for someone. My first instinct was to praise this game. I mean, it has fully voice-acted cutscenes, a nice variety of minigames, and was very easily completed in an evening. It's pretty much exactly what you're hoping for in a Christmas-themed licensed game, but also, it controls like absolute dog water. I thought that this was maybe because I played this on my ancient DSi, but my friend who played this on his new 2DS XL also attested to how miserable it was anytime the game required you to swipe something. Using the knife in the cooking minigame felt like trying to trudge through mud with cinder blocks zip-tied to your shoes. The whole game just didn't feel very responsive. Every movement felt like it was a full second behind, and even though the game is short, it made it feel much longer. Ultimately, Disney's A Christmas Carol had some fun concepts, and it definitely executed them. I'm just not sure that I'd call it well executed. I also hate to see someone betray haters as thoroughly as Ebenezer Scrooge does. 2.5 stars. Max.
I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick, and the clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
The Grinch for the Game Boy Color is an adventure game where the Grinch is sent to Soviet Russia to kill his mentor, Big Boss, and destabilize the... Wait, actually that's Metal Gear Solid. The Grinch was just described as being like a combination of Pac-Man and Metal Gear Solid by IGN, who also voted it their runner-up for Action Game of the Year in their Best of 2000 awards for the Game Boy Color. The Grinch is actually a maze adventure game where you play alternately as the Grinch and his dog Max. As either character, you must work your way through the levels collecting gifts scattered across the map in a set amount of time. You're also forced to sneak around as various Whos and their Who dogs too are patrolling and will attempt to chase you if you're spotted. There's several types of NPCs, including, but not limited to, Slutty Candy Cane Who, Kapu, gender robots, dog. Each NPC has a different chase pattern, with some of them attempting to stun you before chasing, and others actively running away from you. The Grinch has somewhere around 30 levels divided into 7 stages. Most of the levels take place outside in Whoville. One has you go Who Spelunking and discover their robot army, and by far the worst level of this game has you drive his little Grinch car. And let's get this straight, I don't like this level because I'm a woman, and everyone knows that women can't drive. It's also because this level is hard to control. You use the arrow buttons to drive and the X button to accelerate, which is fine generally, but it makes it incredibly difficult to make tight turns, and I often ended up getting caught because I couldn't make a turn with these godforsaken controls. The fact that I was able to finish this stage is a miracle, and I should be praised for my resilience in the matter. I hated this level. Yet, there was something about the Grinch. Maybe it's because I haven't played a lot of Game Boy games, so I don't know if this was just a par for the course experience, but, and this is going to pain me to say it, I found the Grinch to be delightful. It had great music, fun gameplay, and I enjoyed it. It took me forever to beat, but I actually started a second playthrough right after finishing it because I was so excited about having figured it out. This game was difficult, and I felt like I really had to think through my strategy, but the timer made it feel very bite-sized. I never felt like I was spinning my wheels for too long because the timer pushed me forward. I gamed over, a lot, but there didn't seem to be a limit on how many times I could, so I didn't get frustrated and give up. The music is charming, the end screens are fun. My dear lovely friend Uriah was so thrilled to find out this was the game with the seductive Grinch in it, and even though I didn't successfully steal Christmas at the end, when the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes, I could feel mine grow too. This must be what Christmas spirit feels like. It turns out that was a medical condition. I'm actually still a hater.